everyone, and welcome to Awesome Riff of the Day and how to play it. Today we're going to have a look at the classic Ronnie Montrose riff to Rock Candy from his band Montrose's self-titled debut album from 1973, entitled, well, you guessed it, Montrose. Man, they were so close to the quad. All they needed was the opening track of that album to be called Montrose as well, for debut album quadruple perfection. We've had Black Sabbath, Black Sabbath, Black Sabbath, and Bad Company, Bad Company, Bad Company, and Iron Maiden, Iron Maiden, Iron Maiden. However, no leader in any of those bands were named Black Sabbath or Bad Company or Iron Maiden, of course. But here we had the perfect opportunity for Montrose, 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 Montrose epicness. And they completely blew that opportunity. But regardless, this was such a great bloody rock guitar album at the time in the early 70s, full of really great riffs, solos, and rocking tracks, with the formidable pipes of a young Sammy Hagar absolutely crushing it on vocal duties. And sadly, no one ever talks much about this album anymore. Space Station Number 5, Bad Motor Scooter, Rock the Nation, all great tracks, and of course the standout Rock Candy with its killer opening riff. I personally wore this album out back in the late 70s when I was still a teenager. One can still hear Rock Candy on classic rock radio now and again these days, thankfully. And all these years later, it's still a part of Sammy Hagar's live set list whenever and wherever he performs. Sammy has stated on numerous occasions that whenever he gets together to jam with other well-known musicians, there's only one track that, to a man, they all want to play with him. And that track is Montrose's Rock Candy. Artists like Chad Smith of the Chili Peppers, Joe Satriani, Matt Sorum, and Slash of Guns N' Roses, amongst many others. And as an aside, Lemmy from Motorhead once came up to Sammy Hagar at a show in England, and all he said to him was 4 words. Rock Candy, mate. It's an absolutely fantastic early 70s rocker that if you do not know it, you most definitely should. Ronnie Montrose was a beast of a classic rock guitarist who was very well known, very well respected, and very much admired by other musicians throughout much of the 70s. However, he would fail to find much success after the band's first 3 mid-70s albums, and would shuffle from project to project and band to band throughout much of the 80s and 90s without really garnering too much public attention or album sales for that matter. Sadly, Ronnie Montrose would contract prostate cancer in and around 2009 and would sadly commit suicide just a few short years later, probably as a result of his terminal cancer diagnosis. However, during the 70s, he was a force to be reckoned with in guitar circles and one of the most influential hard rock guitarists from that era. So with that said, let's have a look at how to play one of his greatest riffs, plus a bit of the verse and a bit of the chorus as well. This is today's awesome riff of the day and how to play it. This is Rock Candy, Hard, Sweet, and Sticky by Montrose. Montrose, Montrose, Montrose. Montrose. All right, Rock Candy by Ronnie Montrose, and this one is in standard tuning, and the song starts with a heavy drum beat, which goes on for a number of bars, and then when the guitar finally comes in, it comes in with a big slide down the neck to an open E, and then into that. So after the open E, you're going to grab the 3rd fret of the low E string, give it a little quarter half step bend, and then you're going to string skip down to the 2nd fret of the D string, hit that note, and then kill it. Just a little bend there. I don't know if that's maybe a quarter bend before you string skip down to the D string. And then we're into this. Now that little lick there he repeats I think 3 or 4 times, and the very first time I think he's palm muting it, and then every time afterwards he's not. So it's open E, then 3 to 4, and And then you're going to ride down the 2s of the A and the D string. And when you get down to the 2nd fret of the D, you're going to give it a little waggle. Kind of like that, and then back to the original lick. And now at this point there's a little pause while the drums are still playing, and to lead back into the riff again, he's going to go down to a D into an A power chord very quickly. You're barely on that D for like a split second, and you're not really hitting the bottom string, you're just hitting the D string, the G string, and the B string. So like a down up on the A power chord, and then it's back into the riff. Now this time, instead of leaving a big pause while the drums are playing, he does this big slide up the neck and then slide back down the neck into the D, A. And then back into the riff. This time he pauses. D, A. Pause again. D, A. And now we're into the first verse. So I'm going to run through the whole opening riff, and then we'll dig into the verse a little bit. So remember, there's a bunch of pauses there between going to the D to the A, except the second time where he does this big slide up and down the neck. Now, the verse section of this, there's a lot of different fills going on, and the only real constant here is just kind of an E power chord, a couple of downstrokes, and then an upstroke on the bottom 2 strings, and then there's all kinds of fills. And that's the first fill. So you're going to grab the 2nd fret of the G, slide it into 4, grab the 3 of the B, and then hammer on to 5. And then give that a little vibrato. So that's the first fill. And then back to the E's. And that's the second fill. And that fill repeats a couple of times. So that's open E to 3. And then you're going to go open A, 1, 2 of the A, and then open D. So that's the second fill. Back to the E's. And that's the third fill. So sliding again 2 to 4. And then you're going to go 3 to 5 of the B. And then you're going to grab the 4 of the G again, slide it back to 2 very quickly. And then you're going to pull off to open G, and then pull 2 of the D off to open D. Kind of like that. To the E's, and then this fill. And that's 2 of the D off to open D, repeat on the A, and then grab the 3rd fret of the low E and give it some vibrato. So that is basically a number of bars of the first verse, and then they repeat 3 times, each time with different fills, some of them repeating. That is the first one, so let's go through that one more time. Back to the E's. And that's the next fill. So sliding again, 2 to 4 of the G, catching the 3 of the B, and then you're going to grab the 4 again of the G, slide it back to 2, and then pull off to open, and then pull off 2 to open of the D. Back into the E's again, back into that, and that's the next fill. So we're pulling off 5 to 3 of the B, and then catching the 3 of the high E. And then kind of a little slow trill between 3 and 5, back to 3 of the B. And then you're going to pull off 4 to 2 to open, all in one motion on the G string. And then back into that lick again. And then back to the E's. And that's the next fill. After the E's. So again, we're sliding 2 to 4 of the G, 3 to 5 of the B, and then you're going to grab that note at the 5th fret of the B and give it a full step bend with vibrato. Back to the E's, back to this, back to the E's, and then you're going to repeat that one again, which we did a little bit earlier. Back to the E's, and then back into that again. So that's the entire verse. I hope that was clear, because it may get confusing there, because lots of changes and lots of different fills. So let's run through that whole verse. So leading into the chorus, you're going to grab that 3rd fret of the low E, give it a nice little slow bend again into an A power chord. And we're kind of playing, we're going from that A power chord into an A sus6, but we're not really using the G string. Excuse me. A power chord, we're only using the D and the B string. So slide up from the A power chord. We've got our middle finger up here on 4 of the D and our index back here on 3 of the B, and we're kind of muting the G string with the tip of our index finger. And then you're going to move the whole thing up to the 5s on the same strings. And then back. And then you're going to grab the 3rd fret again, give it a nice little slow bend off to open. So kind of like this. And then off to open E. And you're going to hit that twice, the open E. And you're going to do these unison bends up here at the 15th fret of the B string and the 12th of the high E. So twice on the open E. And then back into A. Into these little chords. And then back into the slow bend at the 3rd fret, off to open E again. Now the unison bends are in a different position this time at the end of the verse. So now they're at the 9th fret of the G and the 7th fret of the B. A couple of hits on the low E. Move it back 4 spots. Move it back 1, and then finally grab that 2nd fret of the G string and give it a full step bend with lots of vibrato. And then back into the main riff again, and which leads into the second verse and second chorus. And that'll get you right up pretty much to the solo, which we're not covering today, and I hope that was clear, and I hope that helped you out if were you looking to learn this great classic Ronnie Montrose riff. And you guys take care of yourselves. Hope you're well out there in your little guitar corner of the world, and we will see you next time. Cheers.